The Raptors season is well underway at this point, and sitting at 9-9, it definitely has not come without its challenges, and the biggest one of them today is what I want to talk about. What's up everybody, it's JJ Buckets, usual drill folks. Just make sure you leave me a like on the video if you enjoy it, helps the algorithm a lot, and if you're new here, subscribe to the channel as well. Plus, if you plan on doing some responsible sports betting in the near future, make sure to check out my link in the description below. You get a really nice sign-up bonus with it, so have at it. Other than that, let's hop into the video. The injuries take their toll on Toronto. Toronto has had guys like Pascal, OG, Fred, Scotty as well last season for bits and pieces. You get the idea. Missing time with injuries, and that injury bug doesn't go away this year, and the Raptors just fail to compete because of it. We are definitely living some worst case scenario stuff right now, and spoiler, hot take, jokingly, whatever you want to call it, it is hard to win basketball games with, your best players constantly in and out of the lineup, right? Yeah, like these injuries and the injury bug for the Raptors has been ridiculous to start the year, and sometimes you're gonna get games where you can compete despite having people down, like that Hawks game, despite that just ridiculous ending to that game. Don't even get me started on that inbounds play. But sometimes you're gonna get games like the ones that you just had against the Nets, where you are completely overmatched because of the people out of the lineup, and because of specific people being out of the lineup and how they mesh into the equation, and what their lack of presence on the court does for the rest of the team. I'll get into it, but just it's been a rough tread of things for the Toronto Raptors early on, with people just being in and out, and obviously with the Scotty Barnes ankle injury, despite the fact that he kept playing for a decent bit, with him kind of nicking his ankle early, it was like uh-oh. And then the floodgates just opened, the injury to your best player, Pascal Siakam, the injury to your best, I would say, low post, kind of around the rim defender, and Precious Achiuwa. Like, these injuries just kept stacking up. Obviously, Gary Trent Jr. is back now. He's missed games. Fred VanVleet was out for the last game. He's been in and out. That is your all-star from last season. You've had even just rotational pieces down the bench. Otto Porter Jr. was missing the year to start, showed back up, and is now missing games again. Scotty Barnes has been out now. It has just been bad. And I don't think I'm, hitting you with a screeching revelation when I say it is hard to develop chemistry, and it is hard to, really figure guys into their role when people are constantly in and out of the lineup, because then you're going to have guys coming back, you're going to have, these pieces needing to mesh again, even when you are fully healthy. So there's a little bit of a period there where you have to, kind of figure it out again before hopefully you start trending in the right direction again. And the one I guess lone bright spot, if you want to call it that, in this is that it gives a chance to some other players deeper down the bench to step up and potentially carve a role out for themselves as the season goes on. And you can make an argument for one or two guys that has maybe done that so far. I personally really like a case for I don't know if this is if this is just wishful thinking, hoping, whatever. But I think Jeff Downton has looked really good personally. I'd like to see him, get more looks with the Raptors when guys are healthy. Even Malachi has had some encouraging moments when he's been given, bigger roles. But then at the same time, just these injury issues have been just so blatant. In particular with the last game, with the Brooklyn Nets. It's not always how many injuries you have, it's who is injured specifically, because a big thing that I believe you saw with the Nets game is just the lack of playmaking. Absolutely killed the Raptors. They were talking about it a little bit on the broadcast, but when you have, a guy like Pascal Siakam, when you have a guy like Fred VanVleet, and when you have a guy like Scotty Barnes, all missing games, at the same time, those are your 1, 2, 3 best playmakers on your team, all out of the lineup. What does that do at that point? I mean, obviously, simply put, it makes getting shots harder for your offense, and it makes, individuals, have to rely on themselves more, as opposed to, just knowing that they can be in the right spot and somebody like one of those 3 will find them for some easy offense. And again, I think you really saw it with the offensive struggles against the Nets. OG just looked like he was laboring for some looks out there. Even Gary Trent Jr., who admittedly has been in a shooting slump for the most part, I would say, of this season. But even him, some of those ones, from the Nets game, I really can't blame him, because what else are you really going to do in those scenarios than try and create your own shot? And sometimes you get a good shot, sometimes you get a really bad contested look that just never really has a chance. So, when you're missing these key fundamental aspects of your team, like playmaking, because of these injuries, it's just, again, it's tough to win games. It really is, because, Thad Young, let's think about Thad Young. He has emerged into a quality role here from the injuries, and he's been a decent playmaker, but respectfully, if you're hanging your hat on Thad Young being the best playmaker for your team on the court, that is a problem. And don't get me wrong, obviously Thad Young is a fantastic complementary playmaker to somebody else, like Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, Scotty Barnes, that is, quite frankly, much better at it in different facets of playmaking. So, it's a good boost kind of from Thad Young when you have it, when it's a little bit further down your rotation and a little bit further down in the pecking order. But when it's right at the top of the pecking order, you're just not going to win a lot of basketball games that way. This has all just been a long rant, kind of, and a long way of me telling you that just these injuries have been absolutely messing with the team. Quite frankly, it's impressive that the Raptors are still hovering around 900 basketball, considering the ridiculous amount of injuries that they've had. I believe they said it in the broadcast for the Nets game as well, that the Raptors were tied with a couple of other teams for having rolled out the second most different starting lineups this season, which just tells you all that you need to know, I would think, in terms of how the Raptors have been hit with the injury bug early on. Now, good news I would like to think is on the way. It seems like Pascal Siakam is targeting a return next week, so at least you get your best player back, you get your best playmaker back, and hopefully from there you begin to kind of I don't want to say right the ship, because the ship isn't completely, off the rails, but you start steering the ship in a more positive direction and away from some of these turbulent waves, let's put it that way. So hopefully that's the first encouraging sign, and with some of these other guys, these injuries seem a little bit more minor, so hopefully when they get back into the starting lineup, they can stay in the starting lineup for the Raptors, because if this is going to be the trend all year, we are very realistically facing the worst case scenario that I described in that video so long ago, where the Raptors really hit by the injury bug but are just good enough to still sneak in the play-in. So they cost themselves draft position, they don't compete for anything serious because of their standings, and we're left with a very middling season. That has been me for the day, folks. It has been JJ Buckets. What do you think? Comment below, let me know if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, what your thoughts are on all the injuries that we've been seeing this season, and who do you think has a chance to carve out a role for themselves moving forward with the injury bug kind of plaguing the team as much as it has. Drop all that in the comment section below, and to reiterate the usual drill, just if you're still watching, you like the video, so hit that like button. And if you're new here and you enjoyed what you watched today, just hit the subscribe button to the channel as well. Yeah, it's been JJ Buckets, it's been real, and I will see everybody next time.